I don't know.
It'll be interesting to see.
We've already seen a liberalization. You know, historically, there's been about 150,000 citizens, U.S. citizens of Cuban descent that have traveled to Cuba. During the last administration, that was slowed down considerably. With this administration, it's opened up. So that 150,000 is moving back into Cuba already for travel and visiting their families. So we think that's, we think there are trends that are going to continue to develop.
I think that to answer your question, I believe that it stands good chance of passing, that liberalize those barriers that have stopped travel and stopped trade, quite frankly, because most people are now seeing that there's really not a good reason other than their leader to stop trade. And we traded with Saddam Hussein before.
We sold Saddam Hussein anthrax, as a matter of fact. So we definitely had a trade relationship there.
And ag products as well. Iraq is still one of the, right now, I believe, is the leading importer of United States wheat, if I remember correctly.
One of the opposition arguments that I heard when researching for the show is that this is the Castro brothers' attempt to effectively trade with states, and those states, and then together create a lobbying relationship with the states to go onto the federal government and put pressure on the federal government to pass these changes and broaden trade opportunities between the two countries. And then at that point, we'll see Cuba show its true colors, and this is going to be a huge disaster. It sounds like a smart strategic move for Cuba, but what would you say to those opponents that this is just a backhanded attempt to get favorable federal legislation?
Well, I guess my question to them would be, what do they think Cuba will gain out of this? Will the United States gain as much or more than Cuba by opening those trade relations? I think the United States will be have much more favored status. They don't have the ability, especially in agriculture, to grow. They don't grow one kernel of wheat in Cuba. The opportunity for us to sell products there, I think, are much better from the United States than Cuba gaining access to the United States trade.
If we look at neighboring states such as Texas and Nebraska and others that have opened up that door to trade just at the state level and just with agricultural products, we see that there are some real financial benefits. Nebraska, where less than 1,000 Cuban immigrants live, traded over $10 million last year in beans. And Colorado has more than 3,000 Cuban immigrants. So what sort of trade could we see, are you projecting based not only on the size of our economy, but also on the political will as well?
Well, I think there's two sets of figures out there in trying to understand what each state ships to places like Cuba or any exports. The Department of Commerce statistics show Colorado exported about $1.4 million last year in agricultural products to Cuba. What it didn't factor in on that is the wheat. Wheat is shipped and exported and marketed without state of origin control. So all the wheat that's exported to Cuba, $134 million, is credited at the port that it shipped, such as either a Texas or a Louisiana port.
Okay.
When our wheat industry did an analysis, they found that the hard red winter wheat, Colorado is one of 6 states that grows hard red winter wheat into those ports. So we actually supplied about 8.5% of all the wheat that went into Cuba last year, which would be another $10 to $11 million in exports. So right now we're looking at probably $12 million from Colorado going into Cuba. We see small opportunities to grow that. Number one, the wheat industry feels that could be significantly higher. They're still shipping wheat in from Europe. And we think that's, just transportation-wise foolish, and we think there's some opportunity to capture more of that market. The United States supplies about 80% of the wheat to all the Caribbean basin countries and as low as 35% to Cuba.
So what needs to happen at the state level to just swing this door wide open? Is it legislation, or is it just about putting the procedures in place with finding the correct avenue to make it happen?
There doesn't need to be any state legislation. The authorization exists in the United States, and the state has never legislated international marketing or telling agriculture where they can or cannot sell. So we see this as opening. Some of the opportunity here is just very timely. Right now, Cuba, of all things, imports $12 million in seed potatoes from the Netherlands. In the San Luis Valley, we're one of the best growers of seed potatoes in the United States or the world. And that's not a hollow claim. I looked at the figures the other day. We exported 95% of all the seed potatoes that got shipped to Uruguay came out of Colorado. So I think we have some justification in being proud of our seed potato growers. Why can't we have that, we'll just take half of the 12 million. There are opportunities like that. If you go back before the 1959 revolution with the Castros, Colorado was actually a major supplier at that time of black turtle beans to Cuba. We were one of the major suppliers of those at that time. We think there's an opportunity for our dry bean industry to move back into that market as well.
Now, what about the political argument that when America says it's going to do something or stand for something, that we carry through with our word? Is there a problem here that after so many decades of having this embargo in place, when Fidel Castro is on his way out and has already passed the reins on to his brother in many respects, shouldn't we stick it out? Is there an argument to be made that the Castro regime is on its way out and we're about ready to see a liberalization of the government there that we could trade with, and maybe we should hold off and see what happens?
I think more so than not, America, even though you talk about being consistent, I think America is also very good at doing the right thing. And when it comes to doing the right thing, realizing that the Cold War is over and Cuba is not a threat to us militarily, that we can make those adjustments and will make those adjustments. Colorado is well poised to pick up those markets. You talked about the dry beans. We're also looking at the possibility of onions. It's a good export crop into Cuba. The seed potatoes is huge, and hard red winter wheat. We will continue to raise hard red winter wheat in Colorado. And I think if America does the right thing and moves forward, knowing that the Cold War is over, those trade barriers will be removed.
The other thing I'd point out is the U.S. liberalized trade in 2000. So this isn't a new change just because we think something's happening with the Castro brothers. This is a movement, this is a trend, this is something that Congress decided in 2000 that it was time to open up that market.
Since Obama came out in support of greater liberalization, you're hearing a lot more about Cuba. Other than the periodic reports, Elian Gonzalez or different things going on here or there, you really didn't hear about this until the last 6 months. So why is that?
I don't know. In my mind, from the agricultural standpoint, in the last 2 years, U.S. agricultural exports to Cuba went up 145%. Anytime somebody in agriculture finds a market that grows 145% in 2 years, you better give it some attention and look at it and understand what's going on. And from the agricultural standpoint, I think that's what we're moving toward now, is saying something's happening, there's opportunities. Right now you have to understand the embargo with Cuba exists in the United States, no other country in the world. There are 2 million tourists coming into Cuba every year now. They need food. If we liberalize it, as the bill projects, to open up tourism there, it could double again over that. Those are opportunities that I don't want to deny to any of our food processors in the state of Colorado. We have, from the meat packers to the bread to the sauce people, we've got a lot of people there that could add jobs in their factory for increased exports, and that's one of those markets that's poised, ready to go, and that's why we're looking at it now.